everybody, it's Angel from Halo Inspirations. We give you inspirations to help you spread beauty and joy through your quilting journey. It's Wednesday, it's hump day. Wishing y'all a happy hump day. Whoop whoop. So I've been excited about this and you're going to be a little bit surprised. But what are we doing this Wednesday? We are doing Pocket Prayer Quilts. Say that. I mean, I've been doing this all day, right? Pocket Prayer Quilts. Well, let me tell you a little story. So for Valentine's, my mom sent me, she made this and she sent me a little pocket prayer. And it just touched me so much. It was for Valentine's Day and it just touched me so very much. And I had never heard of these. I know a lot of people have. Because I started doing some research. There are churches that do them, and they give them to different organizations or to different members of their church for different reasons. There are different organizations that make them. There's just a wonderful way to say thank you, a wonderful way to send a little prayer to somebody. As quilters, we do touch lives, and this is just another way to touch somebody's life and put a little story in it to make a little bit more joy and add a little prayer to their life if they may need it, or to celebrate them. And like I said, you could even do it for a simple thank you, or for Valentine's, or for Christmas, right? So if you've seen these, okay, fantabulous. But I am going to offer a few different inspirations to go with them. So I'm doing 2 different ways to make them. I think that's important. And just some extra oomph, some extra inspiration in different things that you can do with these. So let's go ahead. We're going to start with this 9 patch. I'm doing a 9 patch to start with. And I'll give you the measurements that it takes. I will tell you that if you're, all the fabric that I used was in my stash. Okay. But if you're looking for a background, a white, a black, or a gray, or even a red or an orange, hopefully yellow soon. I've got various different Kona in our shop right now. It doesn't take much though, guys. Okay. For one. So you might want to make several, because they're super darling and they'll touch somebody's heart. So that you will find. We do have some charm packs out there too, so you may want to utilize those. There's a lot of different fabrics that you can use, but I used my scraps, okay? So I encourage you to use your scraps, and I'm going to show you a couple of different ways to do this with a few ideas to go along with it. So let's go ahead and get the 9 patch started. I'll see you guys in just a sec. Okay, to speed this up a little bit, what I've decided to do is show you what I put together here. Now, you'll notice two whites and a print, and 2 prints and a light. Now, I'm making the 9 patch, remember? So this time, I'm going to do it backwards. So I have 5 of the print and 4 whites. Now I'm going to do 4 whites and a print. Now I will tell you, each one of these strips is 1.5 inches. I took 3 strips, 1.5 inches, and they were about, I'm not going to lie, 7.5 inches long-ish. Notice that they're not exact because I took from my scraps, and it does work out to be okay. Once you get your 3 of each different variation sewn together, you're basically then going to, well, not basically, you now this is a strip method, but I will line up along on the line of the 1.5 inch. So, and notice it is 3.5 inches. And then I'm just going to go ahead and give it a cut. Now I want 2 of these whites, so I'm going to do it again. Put it along the 1.5 inch. Give it a cut. Oh, that was 1.25. Let's try it again. It's always good if you pay attention to which line you're doing. All right. Okay. So now I have 2 with white and one print in the middle. So I'm going to do the same thing on this one. These are also 3.5 inches. I'm going to line it up on the 1.5, not the 1 1/4. And I'm just going to simply give it a quick cut. And I'll line them up just like so. Okay. And I'm basically going to stitch these together. Now I will tell you what I did with these. On the printed ones, on both of them, I pressed going towards the print, okay, when I did these 1.5 inch strips. When you do that, let's flip these over, you will allow yourself to nest your seams. Beautiful, beautiful, beautiful. I notice the color changes when I put my hands in, so I'm going to try and give it a little light here. So when you build your strips, press towards the dark or towards the print on both different kinds, and it'll allow those to nest. So I'm going to go ahead and sew these together, and then we'll go to the next step. Okay, as you see, my cute little block here is all sewn together. It should be 3.5 by 3.5, but if it's not perfect, it's really okay. Okay, this is one place where perfection is not necessary whatsoever. You don't have to square it up if it's not too far too big, because we're just going to flip this inside out. But I will tell you, so this is 3.5 inches. So I cut a 3.5 inch block for my background that will go right sides together. Now, I'm not good at eyeballing, and you don't have to do this, that is for sure. But I do want to pretty close to a 1/4 inch stoppage. Here, let me do it different. Got to think about it for a second. Here we go. Let me pull this off. All right, we're going to do it this way. So I just want about a 1/4 inch to let me know about where it's at. So I'm just going to put a couple of marks on the 1/4 inch little square. That just tells me where I'm going to need to turn. One more. Okay. And like I said, you don't have to do that. It's just one of my comforts. Now notice I'm not using batting. You can use batting at this point. A lot of people do, but I'll show you why in a minute why I don't. So we're going to take the right side facing towards you, the right side facing down on top of this square. And I'm going to start about down here. Now I'm going to leave a pretty good size hole, because the smaller the hole, the harder this will be, okay? I'm going to start right about here. So let's take this to the sewing machine and get this sewn up. All right, got my right sides together. And if you wanted to pin it at this point, you're most certainly welcome to, just so that it stays together. But I'm pretty happy with the way it's turns out without pinning, because there's not a whole lot going on. Now, you could also, so you don't have to worry about flip seams, you could also turn this the other direction. Well, this little guy doesn't want to stay. Maybe pinning would have been better. All right. There we go. So you could actually sew the backing down, and you could in fact write on the top if you had some kind of disappearing ink or chalk that you want to use to make sure that it doesn't stay on the front. But I'm going to go ahead and lower my stitch. Now I will say it's real important that you go ahead and do some back stitching, so when you flip this, the stitches are locked and you won't have to worry about it coming undone. So, whoop, I got a little bit offline when I turned it. Not a big deal. Just re-straighten it. Like I said, being exact is not a necessary. Get those two sides together again. There we go. That one's going to be a little short, but that's okay. Try and even it out. When I get to the next end, we're going to make that turn. Now, this is my last side. Again, I'm a little short, but that's okay. It really is. So we're just going to stitch it just a little bit. Do a back stitch once again to lock those stitches so when you go to turn this, they don't come undone. And go ahead and cut thread. So you will see that I have a good gap. So let's go to the next step. Okay, so they're all sewn together. See if I can have that pick up a little bit. I know it's difficult. Now the right sides are inside, right? Now I did talk about this hole being a little bit bigger than you would think, because it's not easy to flip this inside out, but that's exactly what we're going to do. Now I have done this with some other blocks that I made, just simply squishing it and pulling it through, but I'm not going to lie to you. I had to find an easier method, and because I'm a nurse, I have some hemostats. They're these really cool scissors that have jig-jaggities on them, and if you grab fabric, it will lock on, but it won't put a hole in it, okay? So I found it to be a lot easier, and I just stick my hemostat in there, grab a piece of the fabric, putting it in the forceps, and I just basically pull, so it's in there. I've grabbed part of it, and I just simply pull that bottom out, and it still is a rigmarole. This is probably the hardest part besides making a small block, right? This is it. Now this is why I chose not to use batting, because in my opinion, it made it even harder because it's so small and my hands don't work real well. But a lot of people do use batting. So it's what your heart content, okay? Now I'm not going to sit here and bore you watching this, but once you do get it all out, you do want to then either use your fingernail, which y'all know I don't have great fingernails, or a tool that will help get those corners out, poking them all out. I have the purple thing, thank you to my girlfriend, and they are in the shop, so you can find those in the shop. But you're just going to simply go around and push all your little corners out, like I said, whether it's with your fingernail, with it, whatever it is. I'm not going to sit here and bore you. I've got that other one that I showed you earlier that I have to finish up with you, and I thought that'd be a lot easier, but you can see that they will in fact poke out. You just have to spend a little time with it. So once you get all of that done, and once you get all your corners poked, you're then going to take it to the ironing board, and it is kind of important to get most of the corner as much as you can. Now you could have also cut those corners before, just a little bit before the seam, just on the corner to help get rid of bulk, but these are so thin I don't feel like it was necessary. But when you take this to the ironing board, here, let me put it under here. What you want to do is you want to fold in your flap, your opening, and it actually goes pretty well by itself typically. This one isn't cooperating, so you know, but you want to get this as close to folded in, about 1/4 of an inch in, okay, before you press it, because what you'll have then, let's see if I can find the hole. What you'll have, here we go. When you press it, see if I can open it, it will look like that, okay? So it will be nicely done, and then you just press this to be ready, okay? And it will go, I promise. It's not too difficult, but you just want to get it as nice, as straight as you can, and nicely pressed. This one's got a little doobie dabber on me, but I'll get that done off camera. So once you have this pressed and you haven't sealed your hole yet, okay, you're going to take your cross. Okay, so there's my cross. And you're just going to simply drop it in the hole. Okay, so now you've got a pocket quilt, that pocket prayer quilt that has the cross inside. Now I will tell you, I found it a lot easier to load my walking foot when I went to sew this. And all I'm going to do is sew about 1/8 of an inch all the way around. And like I said, guys, it's not necessary to have perfection, but you do want to, when you do this also, you want to try and keep your fingers on the cross on the inside. And I try to put it near the middle. So mine's right in here. Okay. I can feel that. And I am going to just start at the top somewhere. And actually I want to start on white because this is a white thread, and I am going to back stitch a little bit. So I'm going to drop my needle. Whoop, where's my cross? I don't want to sew on the cross, so you want to make sure that you know where that guy is at all times. So I'm going to do a real quick back stitch. And I'm just going to basically sew this around, like I said, about 1/8 of an inch. All the way around. And you see how easy this is going for me? Whoop, now I just jinxed myself. There we go. Had to help it just a little bit on that corner. I just jinxed myself. And it is a lot easier to do this with the walking foot than it is with my general presser or my patchwork foot. And you're just going to go all the way around. Actually, I can go one more stitch. There we go. I'm still putting my hand on that cross because I want to make sure my needle doesn't go anywhere near that needle, because that would be a disaster. And last round. Had to help that one just a little bit too. When I get back to the starting point, I'm going to go back over it again, the stitch where I started. I'll show it to you in just a second. As best as I can, I'm going to do another back stitch and cut threads. And of course, I'll clean the threads up. We don't have to do that on camera. But there she is. And it's all sealed. I'll have to snip the threads, but it's all sealed up. The cross is inside. Now, you don't have to do this either, but I don't have a needle with a large enough eye to put yarn in, or I'm using my embroidery floss. It's just the white color because I thought it would match real well. I've got all 6 strands. I just cut some. Now, I don't have a needle, right, that can fit this. I looked. I don't have a single one. I'm surprised. So what I'm doing is I'm putting that cross on the bottom of the pocket quilt, so it's down here now, and I'm going to take my thread or my floss, embroidery floss here, and I'm going to put it on top in the middle. Here, I'm going to show you in the camera real quick. So I'm doing basically like this, and I'm just going to do a couple of stitches to lock it in, back and forth. And what we're doing is it puts this cute little, and they call it the prayer knot. So when somebody feels it, they know they have prayers. So I'm going to go ahead and, well, where's my, yeah, it snuck up on me. Got to make sure that I'm not going to hit that cross. That would be terrible. Okay, I'm going to drop my needle. And this is, if you have a needle that, well, I went too far. If you have a needle with an eye that is large enough, you could just simply, go through and tack it down with that. But I don't. So this is the method I came up with. And so once it's on here, okay, it's tacked. So I'm just basically going to tie me a simple knot. You could do a bow, you could do a knot, you could do whatever you want. I'm just going to double knot it. Okay. And give it a snip. Then I have enough for another one, which is the one I was working on. So that's all she wrote, guys. That is the pocket square. No, that is this 9 patch as a pocket prayer quilt. Remember, it was 1.5 inch strips that I cut in. Once I sewed the 3 together, I cut those into 1.5 inch strips, and then I sewed those all together, and we got some really cute 9 patches. Now, I do have some other things I want to share with you on top of something my husband wrote that we're willing to share for you for free. And an easier way to do this where you don't have to flip it inside out, okay? And a little extra oomph. So let me rearrange just a bit and I'll come back at you in just a second. Okay, now if your hands are as clumsy as mine are, working with smaller parts can be tricky, especially when you're turning it inside out. My mom sent me, like I told y'all before, one for Valentine's Day. Super cute. I'm going to show it here in just a second, but the way she made it, brilliant. So here is the Pocket Prayer quilt that my mother made, and it's simply a 4 patch. Now the fabric she used was Valentine's, because like I said, she did give it to me for Valentine's Day, and the cross is on the outside. Isn't that just brilliant? So now I did this block a little bigger, okay, but I wanted to show you basic construction. So I have my backing, which is right side facing out. I've got the batting done, and I wanted to make a churn dash. Now I did not want to make this churn dash where it was going to finish at 3 inches. These are tiny. And y'all know me. If I can get away with it, I'm not doing tiny. So basically what you have here is your 3 layers, and then I have my cross, which is silver because I love silver. And you have a couple of options. You can just set it in the middle and go ahead and stitch your zigzag going around, or you can actually tack it down with needle and thread to your batting and it'll stay there. It won't move if you're ever worried about it. I was thinking about this. I'm going to do a zigzag stitch around, and I know y'all don't need to watch me do that. But I also thought if you really wanted to, if you're making a slightly larger one, like I said, this one finishes about 4, well, I don't know what it finishes. It'll finish at like 3 3/4, okay? It's slightly over 4 inches right now. It's like 4 1/8 or something like that. So I'm going to just I thought about I could do some stitch in the ditch, which will give a lovely pattern on the back, right? Or I can just simply do a zigzag, which is what I'm going to end up doing. And when you do this, if you'll notice, my mom has the zigzag and she's got her 3 layers. So you've got the front, you've got the batting in there, and you've got the backing. Super darling, it is. But if you'll notice, they are pinked. So after you're done doing the zigzag stitch, or whatever decorative stitch you like, you don't even have to be decorative. You could do a straight stitch all the way around. It's whatever your heart desires, but you're going to need to cut away and give yourself some room. So like her zigzags right here, and she cuts out a little further, right? I'm going to throw a picture up so you can actually see this better, but you do want that zigzag, or you want to stitch, and then you want to give yourself some room to cut that with those pinking shears. Okay. Now, it would be really cute to put this on the outside too. I just love this. I just love this idea because I don't have to turn out anything. And it's going to be just as cute as the others. So I wanted to share this method with you. But I do have a couple other ideas. Now, if you want them to finish at 3 inches, I will tell you, and you want a 4-patch, okay? You'll want to start with 2-inch squares. That'll help finish at 3. Unfinished will be 3.5. Now this one I did turn inside out. I did do the flip, and you can see I do have, well, maybe not, but I'll throw a picture of this too, of black thread that I used to go around it. But let me explain what this is. This is actually made for a soldier. I used old BDU fabric. Let me show you. It's just an old uniform, okay? And for my knot, I used what they call boot blousers, okay? And what they do with these is they wrap it around the bottom of their leg where their pants are. They put their pants in there, and it tucks it in, so it makes it look like your pants are in the boots, but they're not. So this was part of something he wore, my husband. So I just basically cut this in half, and well, I cut it a little shorter, okay? And then I just simply tied them back together like so. And I went through, I don't know if you'll be able to see that, but I just took my needle and my black thread, and I went through different parts of this boot blouser. I always have to think what it's called, guys. Right inside, just a couple of layers, and then in through in the center here, but I didn't go all the way through to the back. And I do have a cross in here. Well, there it is. So, and they can feel it. But I thought this was really special. This is the BDU uniform right here, and then I just took black fabric, and they're 2-inch squares. This finishes at 3 inches. Just a little pocket prayer quilt for a soldier, and I think it's darling. So if you have any soldiers in your life, whether they're your mom, your dad, your brother, your sister, your grandma, your grandpa, your aunt, your uncle, whomever, your neighbor down the road, your best friend, it's just an idea that you can actually use part of their older uniform, if they have any that they want to throw out, and match it with some fabric and make yourself a little prayer quilt out of something. And I thought you could also do things like this for, like, if you have a police officer in the family, you can either get some fabric that might celebrate them, or maybe one of their old uniforms. I don't know a lot about police officers, and so I don't know if they have anything that you could use as the prayer knot, but if you do, or if they do, that's another great idea. And then I don't have this one completely finished yet, but I did do one with crumb piecing. I just used gray, that's Kona coal, and some crumb pieces. Now I don't have this one finished yet. I still have to put the cross in there and seal it up. And I'm probably going to use a gray thread to do the tie in the middle right here. Okay. So there's another idea, and you can do these like my mom did it for Valentine's. You could do Christmas fabric. You can do, maybe they have a favorite, insect like a butterfly or a dragonfly or bees. I love me some bees. Who doesn't love bees? But you could use different fabrics that maybe they enjoy. 2-inch squares if you want to do a 4-patch, 1.5-inch squares if you want to do the 9-patch. Any block you want to do. There's a couple other things that I want to share. If you're looking for inspiration on a 3.5-inch square block, you know that Fat Quarter Shop has free pattern out there. It's a sew along. It's still going on. They're almost done. It's 36 blocks. It's been going on for a little more than, it'll be total a little more than 36 weeks, and you're making an entire quilt. Well, they offer the pattern every week. It came out on their blog. I'll put the link in the description box below. But inside every week is a new block and it has a finished 3-inch, a finished 6, and a finished 9. So if you're looking for some inspiration on some small blocks that you could use, that would be a great resource for you, because the math's already done. You just have to make the block. They're tiny for me. They're not my favorite. These were just fine, just the way they are. I will definitely get this one done by today for our Facebook Live. And I think I'm just going to go ahead and throw the cross inside. Well, I also wanted to share with you that if you are looking for something to go with it. So a lot of times when they do pocket prayer quilts, they give these little cards that go with them. I got one from my mom. So what we've done, my husband has written a couple of things. So if you are interested in doing a pocket prayer quilt for a soldier, he actually, and I'll throw a picture up here, he actually did a little prayer, and it says, "Prayer of a soldier. I say unto the Lord is my refuge. May your grace guide my heart. May angels protect me and those at my side, so I may return to the side of those that I love at home." Whew. I hope I don't cry. So we're offering that saying on a PDF multiple times. It'll be in a smaller print, but you could also just copy, once you pull the PDF down, you could copy and paste it and do it on anything. You could handwrite it, but it's just a little saying for if you were going to do one for a soldier. And then the second one, I don't know what side, I think it'll be on this side, it's just a pocket prayer quilt, and it says you only need to reach in your pocket and feel the cross within this small quilt. This is a small reminder of God's grace and love. They are with you always, even if they cannot be seen, just as the cross that lies within this small prayer quilt. So he has done these. We've sent them off to the printer, so they will look like what you have seen here. But if you just want to have the saying, you can I have it in a list of inspirations. I'll put a link for that down below, and you can pull those. They'll be done in PDF, so you can pull those down for you to utilize if you so desire in any way that you would like to use them. But if you want them pre-printed when they get back from the printer, along with the crosses, we're going to sell small groups of the cross and the cards together, so that you can find those more easily. But so we have both of those. One is free. The other one will be along just as soon as it comes back from the printer, and it'll be on our website in our shop. This was a lot of fun, guys. I really hope that I gave you some ideas and some inspiration to maybe do your own pocket prayer quilt. Say that 5 times fast. It was a lot of fun. Even though I don't like small pieces, this truly was a lot of fun. Now the cards and the cross, when we go up on our website, they will not come with fabric. You can use any fabric you desire. I showed where you can do crumb piecing. You could do the whole thing in one crumb piece, right? You can utilize your scraps. You can go into your stash. You can grab a charm pack or a 5-inch square pack. The sky's the limit. Or you can use part of a uniform. Now, I will warn you, when you do something like this, where the material is a lot thicker, it's harder to get the points to be pointed. But remember, this is not something that has to have perfection. And it's a little more, your needle takes a little bit more to go through it. So I encourage the walking foot if you have it, because it'll help. But it's not impossible without it. Don't get me wrong. I just wanted to give you a warning that it will finish a little different, because this fabric's thicker and it will take up some of that seam. But I hope that was clear. I hope you enjoyed this. I hope you find inspiration. If you decide, to make one of these, I'd love to see it. You can share it inside the Creative Kingdom. If you're not a member of our private group, you come on over. We'd love to have you. Love to see what you have under your needle. Give us a little inspiration too. And the link for that will be down below. But again, today I will be on Facebook Live, guys. Looking forward to that at 3 p.m. Eastern Daylight Time, because I'm here in Virginia. So I'm there for a live quilting and answer session. So if you want to come on over and do some chit-chatting about some pocket prayer quilts, love to have you there. But that is today's video, and I will tell you next week another small project, guys. We're going to do a table runner together, so I'm really looking forward to this one too. I had a lot of fun with it, and it involves my favorite star of all time. It is my absolute favorite. So I hope to see you all next week. I hope to see you at 3 p.m. And until next time, may y'all continue to be inspired, productive, and ever so joyful. And never stop making your dreams in quilting come true. I love y'all. Happy quilting. Thank you for stopping by. See y'all soon.